welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to get into my product review updates. So you guys know I review a lot of products here on my channel, and every few months I like to pop on camera and give you guys updates. Now, when I'm reviewing products, after I'm done reviewing them, I continue to use them, and especially if they're products that I didn't like, I continue to try to use them and see if there's a way for me to tweak them or see if my opinion changes after using it for a longer period of time. So I have a lot of products because you guys know I review a lot here. So I have a lot of products to get through. Before we jump into my product reviews, I want to personally thank Chantecaille for partially sponsoring a portion of this video. I've been using the Chantecaille app and the Chrome browser extension for a while now, and it has become an essential tool for my online shopping. You guys know I rarely ever do sponsorships here on my channel, and I am very picky about the sponsorships I accept. I get offers quite frequently, but I turn down majority of them. But this one I could not turn down because not only does it support my channel, but this is a great tool that has helped me in so many ways. And it's also going to help me in the holidays, you guys, because I don't know if you're like me, but I'm kind of an impulse buyer. And sometimes I'm very unorganized when it comes to ordering for the holidays. So now that I have Chantecaille, I have become so much organized for my holiday shopping. So I downloaded the mobile app, which is a free download. And I also have the extension on my Chrome browser on my MacBook. So not only do I get alerts when the products come back into stock or when they go on sale, they have a wish list. And I have designated in my account wish lists of my Christmas buying. I have a wish list for my daughter. I have one for my son. I have one for my husband, my mom, my brothers, my sister-in-law. Like, I have a full list. What I've been doing is when I'm online shopping and I find items that my kids have told me, you know, kind of hinted around that they want, I add that item into their wish list. And so when that item is added into the wish list, when all of the holiday sales start happening, because you guys, it's so hard for me to keep up on it. It's hard enough for me to keep track of what's coming new to buy for my channel, but holiday shopping is a whole other story, especially when the holiday sales start happening, like Black Friday and stuff. We're getting into the holiday sales. I will start getting notifications, whether it's with the email or whether it's with the mobile push. I will get alerts. Hey, this item that you have on your list is now on sale. And then I can just buy it immediately and check that off the list. So not only is it keeping me organized, but I'm feeling like I'm not going to overbuy this year because I have, you know, started to slowly build my list, and then I will know exactly what I'm buying, exactly how much I'm spending on each person, and I can try to get the best price possible on that particular item. Plus, once it's all said and done, I will be getting money back through the cashback program, which is amazing. You can download the app straight to your phone. Downloading the Chrome browser extension is very, very easy. You just go onto your Google Chrome, go to the Chantecaille, download the extension, and it's right there. You sign into your account and it's immediately connected to your Chrome browser. Whenever you are shopping online, whether you're on the Nordstrom site or you're on any type of clothing store, it doesn't matter. Your shop tag is always right there. And if you find, let's just say that you find a shirt that you really, really want, and you want it in a size medium, but it's out of stock, you can save that to your Chantecaille account in the medium size or even the color that you want, and it will notify you the minute that that shirt comes back into stock. So I really like this. This has been such a fun tool for me to use. With the financial strains that we have going on right now, it's just nice to just be as organized as we possibly can during this holiday season, but also still enjoy the holidays at the same time. So that was the reason why I wanted to share Chantecaille with you guys. It's a very, very easy system to use. Believe me, if I can figure it out, you guys can figure it out. If you guys are interested in the Chantecaille mobile app or even the Chrome browser extension, I will leave it linked in the description box down below. Thank you, Chantecaille, for partially sponsoring a portion of this video. Let's go ahead and jump into my product review updates. I've got a lot of products here, you guys, and a lot to say. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so I first want to start with a few foundations that I tested over the last couple of months. And let's talk about the Tom Ford Traceless foundation. This is the soft matte, and I have been still loving this. I have actually been mixing this with some of my other favorite foundations. It's a very soft matte finish on the skin, and still to this day, it's so flawless and just smooths everything out. And I have been really, really enjoying this. My opinion has not changed whatsoever when it comes to this foundation. I feel like I get a really decent medium coverage and also get the benefits of wearing a matte foundation, especially with all the mask wearing that we're wearing right now. This just locks and loads, and it's not heavy on wrinkles. It's not heavy on texture. It just looks flawless, and Tom Ford got it right with this formula. It's very, very beautiful on the skin, and I really love it. It's very natural, and even though I don't like a matte foundation per se, that one is just so soft that I just don't feel like I'm wearing a matte foundation. So that one I'm still really loving. Now, of course, we're going to talk about my Chanel foundation. This has become my holy grail. This is the foundation that has kind of rocked my 2020. I love this. Now, I can't really wear this on camera as much because it's such a skin-like, natural-looking finish that when I put it on and I'm wearing it in front of like the beauty studio lights and stuff, of course, I get a lot more reflection than I would in just regular everyday life. So this one I reach for when I'm not filming, and I love it. And number one favorite thing about this foundation is that it looks so skin-like, and I can build the coverage without it ever getting cakey. Now, the one thing that I will mention, I don't have the best sense of smell. I've had friends of mine tell me that this one is just very strong fragranced. It's interesting how we're all so different and sensitive to smells, but for me, I am not sensitive to this at all. The YSL foundation kind of knocks me. Like, I'm always like, woo, that's strong. But this one, I haven't had that experience. But if you are sensitive to scent, this one might be something that you might not want to pick up because it does have a stronger fragrance. But I love the fragrance of it, and to me, it's not strong, so I love that. I can build it over my texture. I can build it over my wrinkles, and it never, ever gets cakey. It always just looks so skin-like and so beautiful. I am obsessed with it. Now, I will say, for me to be able to have this like locked and loaded and be able to wear a mask throughout the day without me feeling like my foundation is completely going away, I do set it with a little bit of powder. I love the way that it looks with a little bit of powder, but I just love it. I think it's such a beautiful foundation, and every time I'm wearing this, I get compliments all the time on my skin. So this has been a clear winner for me, and I love it. The other one I want to talk about is the Nars Soft Matte Complete Foundation. This is still a very beautiful foundation. The difference between the Nars and the Traceless from Tom Ford, I feel like the Traceless is a little bit softer of a matte. This one is definitely a little bit more matte than the Tom Ford. So depending on the level of matte that you would want, now I will not say that this is like heavy matte or strong matte. This is just a very easy application. I feel like this is probably best for those who have combination skin. It is very beautiful on the skin, and you know, Nars has always done really well with their foundation, so I really wasn't surprised that they did such a great job with this one. So if you are looking for a soft matte finish, these both are a great option. But depending on the level of matte, I would say this one is a little bit more skin-like, the Tom Ford, than the Nars. But the Nars is still very, very natural and very beautiful and is pretty much locked and loaded all day. Let's move on to Rare Beauty. So I, pretty much bought a lot of their stuff from their first launch. And I would say my favorite product of all of their products is this. This is their liquid blush in the shade Bliss. And it is the matte. I love this. In my opinion, this is the best liquid blush I've ever used. I love the matte. For me, I thought I would like the dewy more, but I don't. I love the matte. I think the matte is absolutely stunning, and it stays all day long. It lasts all day, and it looks so beautiful. In fact, some of my favorite things to do when I'm not filming and I'm just going to throw on a little bit of makeup, I'll use my Chanel foundation and use a lightweight concealer, and I won't put any bronzer or any contour on. All I'll do is just put a little bit of this on the cheek, and it's so healthy and gives the skin such a beautiful flush of color. This, in my opinion, is one of the best liquid blushes out there on the market. They nailed the formula. I'm obsessed with this, and I also love the shade of this. I think this one is just beautiful. Now, the foundation and the concealer. So as I talked about in my video, I got the foundation too dark. So I did go ahead and order a lighter shade, and also a lighter shade in the concealer. So I went ahead and ordered the shade 320 Warm, and this one does match me a little bit better. But I don't like this foundation, and I think it's because it has that dry oil texture to it, and their undertones are crazy strong. So this is 320 Warm. I like this foundation. I think it's a very like natural skin-like finish. But the thing that I don't like about it is because it has that dry oil texture, I find it slips and slides on my face throughout the day, even when I powder it. So I've been continuing to try to work with it to see if I can make it work. I've even mixed it with the Tom Ford to try to see if maybe the soft matte finish will kind of give it a little bit more wear time. But this one just slips and slides way too much on my skin, and it's not my favorite. Now, the concealer, on the other hand, I think the concealer is very beautiful. It's very soft like on the skin. And speaking of the concealer, the brush is my new favorite concealer brush. This is the best concealer brush on the market. I have been loving this brush. Now, you guys know I love my Hourglass brush, but the problem with this brush is the way that it's angled. It's like really hard to kind of get up in those creases right there at the corner of your eye. And yes, I love the way that this applies concealer, but it's the shape that I don't always love because I kind of have to tweak it. This one is like a no-brainer. There is no tweaking. You can stick it right there and get the perfect application on your concealer. Such a fabulous brush. One of the best. Now, recently, I have been using the foundation brush to blend out my contour. If I go in with my Tom Ford Intensity 1 contour, the cream contour, I will just use this to kind of tap it into place. This is a great brush for that. I have other foundation brushes that I love more than this one, but this is still a pretty good one, especially for the price. But the concealer brush is the best. It is so good. If you guys don't buy anything from Rare Beauty, you will not regret getting this brush. It is fantastic. So back to the concealer. The concealer I really do like. This is a concealer that I wear, like I just said, when I'm not filming and I'm using like the Chanel foundation and I'm popping a little bit of the blush on the cheek. This is a very lightweight serum type of concealer that when you put it on, it's very forgiving over wrinkles. The only thing that I don't like about this is it just doesn't have enough coverage for me. I like a lot of coverage when I'm on camera. I'm okay with a light medium coverage when I'm off camera, but on camera, I like to have that nice full coverage. But this one is very soft, very beautiful, and I don't feel like it exaggerates my texture in any way. But this one does crease, yes, but most of my concealers crease because I don't set them. So keep that in mind. But if you're looking for that lightweight, very natural kind of concealer, then this is a really beautiful one. So let's talk about the highlighter. The highlighter, I think it's probably me. Only liquid highlighter that I have just absolutely loved is the one from Charlotte Tilbury, like the one in the little tubes where it's got the little sponge tip. That's my favorite formula. I feel like these are very beautiful, and you can kind of manipulate it and, you know, really get a beautiful application. And a lot of people are loving this liquid highlighter. So I'm going to actually take this shade, which is Flaunt. And I'm going to put a little bit of it here on the side of my cheek. So I'm just going to go like this and just kind of rub it in. Now, the thing that I do like about this is that it does rub in really easily, and it is very, very beautiful. I think because I love the Charlotte Tilbury formula so much that I'm not reaching for this when I want a liquid highlighter. However, the formula is kind of similar. So if you don't already have the Charlotte Tilbury highlighter, the liquid highlighter, and you're wanting to buy a liquid highlighter, this isn't a bad formula. I've actually, you know, when I reviewed it, I wasn't like overwhelmed with it, but the more I began to use it, I do like it, and I do think it blends into the skin quite beautifully, but you just have to decide if you like to wear liquid highlighters. If you don't, I would definitely pass on it. Now, as far as the primer and setting sprays, I really haven't used these enough to kind of give you my thoughts on them, so I'm going to kind of pass on it. You know, I will talk about those in another video, but I really haven't played with them enough to really be able to tell you whether I like them or not. Let's move on to these palettes from Tom Ford. This right here is the Visionaire, and this is the Meteoric. I love the Meteoric. This one I am still in love with. I think it's beautiful on the eyes and I love it. I do. I think it's beautiful. This one I'm still kind of like, yeah, I don't love it. I don't know if it's because of the color story. I've used it probably 3 or 4 times and I haven't loved the looks that I've created with it. Even though this pink is so beautiful, it's a gorgeous shade, but the Meteoric I love. I think this is a well done, beautiful palette. If you love those pretty purpley lilac pink tones, you will love this. It's such a beautiful palette. So let's talk about the Imperial Topaz palette from Goss. Now, I really love the pigmentation in this palette. I think the shades complement each other very well. And I think this is just an overall easy palette to use. For example, I bought this for my mom and she is loving it. Absolutely loving it. It's her favorite makeup item in her collection. Granted, all of the makeup she has fits in a little teeny bag. I'm trying to build up her makeup collection, but anyway, this is the perfect palette for someone like that. This is a perfect palette to give to someone that doesn't really have a lot of makeup and what they use over and over and over. That is the perfect person for a palette like this. I still would have preferred for me and my collection and what I like in makeup, would have preferred for this to have more shades, less product, but it's still a very beautiful palette. And I really love the array of colors that he chose for the palette. Yes, I don't really use black that much, but I will say my mom told me, you know, she uses black and she's not really, she always says, I don't know how to do makeup. That's what she always says. And she's done really well with this black. It's a very beginner user-friendly black. So I like this palette. I think the colors are perfect, but I think you have to have the right makeup collection to really justify all of this product because there's a lot of product in this palette. On the flip side of that, if we're not even going to talk about that, the formula is great. I think the shadows blend beautifully. And this shade I have reached for over and over and over for an inner corner highlight. And I've also reached for this beautiful shade to use as a lid topper because the thing that's beautiful about this formula is the way that it's pressed. And I have not had any issues with it getting like super hard panned on me, which can definitely happen with a formula like this. And it just emphasizes the lid in just such a beautiful way. So overall, the formula and the colors, beautiful. So I wanted to mention that. Let's jump into another Tom Ford palette that has disappointed me so much that, so this is the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Red Harness palette. Now, the Shop Tagger app would have came in so much handy when I was trying to buy this because every single time this palette came into stock, I would miss it. Every single time. Now that I have the Shop Tagger, I'm not going to miss something like this, but I wanted this so bad. I wanted this so bad. I missed out on it, I think 3 times, and I got it on the 4th try. This was such a major disappointment. Such a major disappointment. Number 1, the red harness is for like, it's an intensity 1, so it is for more of a like a medium skin tone. This bronzer is hideous on me. It's so gray and so muddy. It looks terrible on my skin tone. Terrible. The highlighter is very beautiful. I do have to admit, the highlighter is definitely my favorite shade in the palette. This shade is so weak. It's ridiculous. I cannot even believe how weak it is. It doesn't, even for those that don't even like a lot of shimmer, this is weak. Like, it is just weak. And it's just blah. And as you blend it out, it like disappears. And I don't understand what this formula is for this shade, but it's terrible. The only shades that I like in this palette is this shade and this shade. This was a huge disappointment. I spent $155 on this palette and it just was a huge disappointment. I still don't love it. I don't like it. I just used the First Frost Tom Ford palette. That is the wet dry formula. It is beautiful. That palette is stunning. This palette, the Shade and Illuminate, I was just kind of blah. Like, what is this? I paid $155 for this? So underwhelmed. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't like it. But anyway, let's move on to my full face of Chantecaille. You guys know that when a lot of my friends here on YouTube got a 30% off discount code, especially my friend Teresa from Teresa's Dead, she's one of my dearest friends, I went in on that website. I bought several items to pretty much do a full face with. The foundation, I think, definitely is very beautiful. It is very skin-like, but it doesn't have enough coverage for me. And I feel like there's a lot of great foundations out on the market that will look very skin-like and give you a little bit more coverage for way less of the price. So I felt like I had to use a lot of this to look good. I feel like if you like a really, really light coverage foundation, maybe like a tinted moisturizer, you might like this. But if I'm gonna wear a foundation that appears to be like a tinted moisturizer, I'd rather just wear a tinted moisturizer. If you have more wrinkles and you're getting older, this is very beautiful. It does supposedly have skincare and stuff like that, but I just felt like this was overrated. That's just my opinion. The concealer was a dry, hot mess. It was so drying underneath my eyes. It aged me by 10 years. It just did not look good on my under eyes, which was surprising because the concealer, you know, their whole brand is more like skin-like, very fresh and skin-like. The concealer was dry on my under eyes. So that one's definitely a pass. Let's talk about this powder. So this is called the Perfect Blur Finishing Powder. I actually bought 2 of them because a lot of my friends really love this powder. So I knew that it was going to be discontinued. So I went ahead and bought 2 of them. I'm actually going to sell this on Poshmark because I will never use it. I've never opened that one. But I have tried this so many times, and I was kind of thinking, because it is like, this is discontinued, by the way, but I was thinking that this was going to be like a Charlotte Tilbury. Would it really blur my imperfections and stuff? And it just does not hold a candlestick to the Charlotte Tilbury formula. It doesn't even compare to the Pat McGrath under eye powder. You know, this one is very beautiful if you apply just a tiny bit. This blur does not blur anything. Like, I can't get it to blur anything. So this was a huge disappointment because this was the product that I was most excited about. Well, no, I can't say that. This one is probably my most disappointing. This palette. This was just not it. I spent a ton of money on this. It's a small fortune for the amount of product you get and the price that you pay. Yes, the packaging, you cannot deny, on the Chantecaille products are very beautiful. Not only do you not get a lot of product, but you have to build it. So in order for me to get anything from this shade on my cheeks, I have to build it and build it and build it and build it. And every single time I do, I leave the house, I get done filming or using my beauty lights to get ready or whatever, and I feel like I look like I have blush on. As soon as I step outside, I look in my rearview mirror and I'm like, where the hell's my blush? All I look like I have on is foundation. What in the world? This is very disappointing. Very disappointing. I don't know what the deal is with this and why it's so sheer. Again, yes, I know that their products are supposed to be skin-like, but this is sheer. And for the amount of product that you get and the price you pay, you shouldn't have to work that hard to build it because you're going to go through the product a lot quicker because it's just so much to build. The highlighter, exact same thing. It's like not even there. I'm like, why even have a highlighter if you're not even going to see it? What's the point of that? There's a lot of beautiful soft highlighters on the market that actually are very soft and not overwhelming for way less than the money I paid for this. So this was just a huge disappointment. So let's talk about the quad. I still do like the quad. Yes, this is the most expensive palette I have in my collection because of how much product you get and the price you pay. This is the most expensive palette I have in my entire collection. I do think that the shades are beautiful. I do think that they look really pretty, but they don't look any prettier than a Tom Ford. They don't look any prettier than the Charlotte Tilbury. They don't look any prettier than, you know, a Natasha Denona or a Pat McGrath. Like, I don't understand why this palette, you get such little product and you pay such a crazy high price for it. The overall theme that I'm going with here is I think you have to love Chantecaille in order to justify spending the money on the product. Let's talk about this palette from KKW Beauty. This is a Classic 2. You guys know I love the Classic 1 palette. It's one of my favorite palettes. And when they brought out the Classic 2, I had to get it, and I still love it. I think it's a beautiful palette. Yes, we do have a lot of these shades in a lot of our palettes, but, you know, I still reach for it all the time. I think it's a beautiful palette because this formula is very easy for me to use. This formula is like no effort. It's just easy. A lot of like the Natasha Denona, Pat McGrath, Charlotte Tilbury, Tom Ford, it's almost like you have to get used to their pigment and learn how to be able to blend it out. With this, it's just like a no, I don't have to think about it. I can just grab it and build it to the intensity that I'm looking for without no effort. It's just a beautiful, beautiful palette. And I'm still personally really, really enjoying this. So I wanted to briefly mention that. Let's talk about these beautiful palettes. The Natasha Denona Glam palette and the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. I love both of these palettes. These palettes are beautiful. So easy to use. Gorgeous on the lids. Just amazing formula. Great shades. I love it. In the review of the Glam palette, many people mentioned in the comments, you know, is this a palette that I am going to continue to create the same looks over and over and over? Because the shades do look very similar. There is a chance that that will happen. Just because the shades are one theme and you have so many cool tones going on, this palette can be repetitive when it comes to the looks that you create. So that's why I feel like having both of these together, I have actually created looks with both of these together. And I'm actually building a video in case many of you guys bought both of these palettes. I have been on the side kind of creating a video with 3 different looks using these 2 palettes together because I do think that they pair very well together. Everything that you don't have in this palette, you get in this palette. Everything you don't have in this palette, you get in this palette. So be on the look for that video coming, but I really love both of these palettes. I still think these are really beautiful, very easy to use, and that great Natasha Denona quality that we've all become to love. Oh, this palette. This is the Pat McGrath Rose Decadence palette. This is probably my least favorite Pat McGrath palette I've ever used. I have worked with this, you guys, so many times, and it's just not my palette. The mattes are terrible. For me personally, you guys, don't come for me in the comments, but for me personally, the mattes in this are terrible. I just feel like they're so patchy, and they're not $65 quality for 6 shades. The shimmer shades in this palette, yes, they're very beautiful, but they get like weird and scratchy and they just don't have a lot of pigment. This shade wears off of my lid by the end of the night. It's gone. No, this shade stays, but this pink one right up here, it's gone by the end of the night. And it's just, and then we got this shimmer, which is super dull. Like, it's just like, where is that shade? I don't know. It's definitely my least favorite palette from Pat McGrath. I feel like they dropped the ball on it. Of course, I will keep it in my collection so I could use it, you know, for comparisons and stuff. But as far as using it, I am done trying to work with that palette. I have tried it so many times and it is just a no-go for me. Finalize this video by talking about my beautiful friend, Mel Thompson, and her collaboration with Sydney Grace. This Tiny Marvels palette is so damn stunning. It is so pretty. And I've also really loved using this palette with other palettes that I have. And this shade right here is my favorite. Now I did say, okay, first of all, hold on. There's 3 shades I have that are my favorite. This shade over here on the corner, this one right here, is the most prettiest. It is mind-blowing how beautiful it is. Look how pretty that is. Look at the shift that it has in that shade. It is my favorite. This shade right here has become my favorite rose gold. Well, I love this shade. Oh my gosh, look at that. It is so pretty. Anytime. And you know what I love about it the most? Is that it is a rose gold with a peachy undertone. Check this out. Look at that shade. It is so pretty. My favorite matte in this palette is this one, the Flutterby right here. Hoo-wee. It is so perfect. It is like one of those shades that you do not have to work hard to build it. And it looks light in the pan, but as soon as you put it on the lid and blend it out, you can just wear that. And you're out the door. Like, do you know how many times I have grabbed that shade, put it in my crease, and then grabbed this rose gold and kind of pressed it into my center of the lid, or even this shade goes beautiful with it too. And be it one and done and out the door. Look at those 2 shades together. It's gorgeous. This is probably one of the prettiest peachy pink mattes I have in my collection. The reason why I say that is because it's really hard to find a shade like this that I can deepen and add a little bit of dimension on my skin tone because it is such a light shade. Not with this formula. It's fantastic. It's the perfect tone and I'm obsessed with it. So that's it for my product review updates. If you guys have made it all the way to the end, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. Again, thank you to ShopTagger for working with me and partially sponsoring the video. I really appreciate your guys' support. I will leave a link for you in the description box down below if you're interested in downloading and getting started on your own ShopTagger account, which I absolutely love. So thank you again. I hope that you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.